everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Performance Zone. I'm Coach Clay Banks here with PZTV, and I want to welcome you guys wherever you're watching from, whether it's our live stream or you're watching this as a pre-taped broadcast. I want to say to you, thank you for bearing with us because we are working through a few technical glitches as we are fleshing out our new system and our new format, so thank you so much. Eventually, we will settle in on a regular time slot and a day when the Performance Zone will air so you can watch accordingly. But of course, the stream stays on our Facebook page at, if you're watching right now, Facebook at Claybank Studio International. So if you guys are there, welcome. We're glad that you're there. Keep in mind that you can always text into us, message into us, ask questions, make comments, let us know how it's going, how's the sound, how's the audio, how's the picture quality out there. So welcome and thanks for being here. We were scheduled to interview our guest, Kevin West. And Kevin West he's an exciting guy, and I'm really looking forward to having him in here. But he's a busy working professional in the industry, and as it would be, he got a big audition for a guest star. And we were trying to make it work, and I said, Kevin, I'll tell you what, let me just bump my guests around and see what we can do. And my third guest was so gracious to be able to step up at the last minute and take Kevin's spot, and Kevin is going to take his spot, so everything's going to work out in the end. But if you were expecting Kevin West, he will be here next week, but we have a special treat and a special guest to bring you today that I'm very excited to introduce you to. How many people can I call at the last minute and say, hey, I need you to cover for my show, and have them work their schedule out to be there, especially with the busy schedule that this guy has. So I want to introduce to you a guest that I have been privileged to know for many years now. I've coached him, I've worked with him over the years. We've actually become very close friends and business partners. We work on production together. We do a lot of things together because Joe is one of those guys that just kind of flies at the same altitude, and we're able to dip and switch real well together. So we get a lot of things accomplished. And I've always wanted to bring him on the show. We're just bringing him in a little bit earlier. Now, I'm going to introduce to you Joe Abraham, and before we dive too deep into that, I just need to kind of build you up just a little bit, Joe.
Okay.
Joe is on the show for a lot of reasons. First of all, he is one of the most charismatic, energetic, and talented people that I personally know. I think if Hugh Jackman were just a little shorter, you'd have Joe Abraham. But this guy does just about everything. I'm not going to go on and on. We're going to unfold it in this interview. The Performance Zone is a show that is allowing you as the audience to come in as I interview different industry professionals to help you further your career and kind of maybe overcome some of the hurdles and obstacles that might be in the way for you, and give you some really cool insights into different areas of the industry. So without any further ado, hello. Joey, welcome.
Hey, we're here.
You made it.
I made it. We're here. I love it. I love it.
Say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I don't know what. Here we are. I'll say hi to this camera. Hi.
So, Joe, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate that.
I'm thrilled to be here, man.
You know, one of the things about you that when people say, "Well, what's up with Joe Abraham?" I obviously can't say everything because it's too extensive. But I do say when I truncate it, as I go, Joe is a working industry professional. He's the real deal. He's doing it, handling a career, handling his acting. You coach, you empowerment talk, you're an author, you're an amazing husband to your amazing wife, and you have 2 children. I mean, you've just got this like crazy full life.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to keep it all going. But yeah, thank you for all that. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
So I think in the last maybe 48 hours, you were with Disney, you were with your agent, you were with your kids this morning doing something.
Yeah, getting them ready for school.
Give us a little idea about
it depends on the day, but it's always full. It's always interesting. So today was getting up around 5:30, 6 in the morning, and getting the kids up and ready to go. And my wife Christine was working late, so I was kind of handling the getting kids ready while she was kind of catching a few winks, and had a meeting with the agent, and it was really great. And then I'm jumping over here. Gosh, over the weekend I was doing a show that you came to see. I was doing Kiss Me Kate, so it really just depends on the day. I liked it. If I was to boil down like what it was I do, it would be truly just a teaching artist. Because if I'm not on set, if I'm not on stage, then I'm teaching or I'm coaching or I'm empowering, and that's really the best way to say it.
A teaching artist.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah, just you know, and it's a just kind of little title that it's out there, but I'm understanding what it means to really live that.
Well, you're saving me a lot of work when I have to explain you now.
Yeah.
I got 2 words. Teaching
artist.
There you go.
Yeah,
He's
working
a teaching
professional
artist.
teaching artist.
Made him figure it out.
There it is. That's right. Let them wonder.
Okay, so we want to unpack this. Those of you guys that are tuning in, just stay with us because we're going all over the place. We're going to be circumnavigating everything.
Right.
But you just had an agency meeting. You just came from that,
Yes.
and I just saw you on the stage. Yeah, that was fantastic. I've seen you obviously many times. He's an amazing theatrical performer. We're going to get into your Broadway. Well, let's go back. Let's go backwards a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about that. You did several years on Broadway.
Yeah. I got a BFA in musical theater from Penn State, and very quickly after that, went on some tours, and then I had the big break. Went to New York City, planted roots down there, and was doing some equity work. So I went from non-equity to equity, and then the big break was the first national of Hairspray. I got to be the swing on that. I got to work with the original creative team, Jerry Mitchell, Jack O'Brien, Mark Shaman, Scott Whitman, all of the guys that were there. So that was an amazing, big break, as they call it.
Let me jump in for a sec, because we've got mostly an actor audience.
Okay.
How did you break into actually going from not being on Broadway to being on Broadway?
You know, there's no one path, and for every person there's a story, and they're all different. For me, it was kind of a progression of doing some non-union tours, bus and truck, where we traveled a bunch, into doing
Road
some
shows.
more regionals, road shows. Yeah, but this particular iteration of a road show was we would get on the we'd get on the bus in the morning, drive all day, get to the hotel, drop our stuff, go to the theater, do the show, go home, sleep, whatever home was, the hotel, sleep, get up, drive again. So literally it was one-nighters, bus and truck one-nighters. And that was where I kind of, where they say cut my teeth on touring. After that, moved to New York, wanted to really be in that city, love that city. And it's just kind of a progression of auditions and breaks. I guess it's being the right product at the right time in the marketplace, and the show was right, and I was right for the show, and it all worked out. And that's how Hairspray happened, and some interesting dominoes that fell that I wasn't aware of that allowed me to take the role that I took. That's a longer story.
Would it be fair to say that I get that whole right place at the right time, and we love those suddenlies.
Yeah.
The all of a suddens are awesome. But would you say that there's obviously the preparation?
Yeah. I mean, it was right person, right time, right prep, right training, which is really the core ingredient of I could do what they needed me to do. It wasn't just, hey, he looks right, because there was a lot of other guys in the audition that looked very similar to me. It was a combination of training and all that sort of stuff that is the base of I think any success, really, is being able to do what they need to do.
You were prepared for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
And so what happened from there?
Was on the tour for 18 months, give or take, and then gave my notice to go get married, because I was like, I don't want to be on the I was like, guys, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm married. Bye, hon. I'm back on the road. Because I'd done it, and I was happy with it. And just those like little God wink, I had given notice, and the company manager in New York had just gotten notice from literally the same guys. So the swing on Broadway left, and I had given notice on the road, and he said, hey, do you have any interest of going to Broadway? I was like, let me think. Yeah.
Give me a second.
Let me think about that for not very long. Yeah. So I left the tour on a Sunday, traveled on Monday, and started Broadway Tuesday. So it just literally did not stop. And that was my access into the Broadway world.
And it also allowed you to have your relationship.
Yeah, and I was a working Broadway actor in New York.
And Christine was also on Broadway, right?
No, she has not done Broadway yet. It's the last thing for her to do.
Okay.
She's on her way. But yeah, we were living in New York and just working actors, and it was fantastic. So it was all told, between the tour and the Broadway, it was almost 5 years with Hairspray.
Terrific.
Yeah.
What would you say would be a key thing that, say, a key up and a key down?
Key up, at the worst of it, you're always on Broadway. I would walk home and, Because as a swing, if those of you in the audience that don't know what a swing is, you're at the theater every night, but you don't go on every night. I covered 7 guys in the show, so I knew 7 ensemble roles
There you go.
in the show. So anytime they would be out, I would be on. And really, whether I was on or not, I just always loved it. And I would walk home every night, especially the nights I was on, and I just look around the city and go, I work here. I get to be on Broadway, and this is amazing. So that's the up. The down, if you would call it a down, of my experience in that show specifically was you have to keep yourself in shape. You don't have the show to keep you in shape. So there'd be times when I wouldn't do the show for 2 or 3 weeks. And so your time outside of the theater has to be used in class, continuing, not just because you should be training all the time anyway, but to literally keep myself in shape, going to the gym, doing all the stuff I need to do so that when I do go on after 3 weeks off, I'm at the same level as the guys that are doing it every week, and there's no dip in quality when I go
that's terrific that you're saying that, because just as an empowerment coach, a difficult thing to get across to especially the actor that is wanting to come about is the idea of building momentum, being camera ready at all times, and then when you do get work, to continue to do the things you did that got you there once you're there.
Right. It's training never stops. You're always improving, you're always working, and that is just, it's crucial. There's no, it seems like common sense, but I guess as they say, to us, I don't know, but common sense isn't necessarily common practice. And I think a lot of that is unfortunate because there's a lot of the selling of the lottery ticket. Hey, this person showed up and they looked right and they sounded right, and then boom, they're there, and then now they're this thing that is so not the norm. But unfortunately, so many people think that it is, and it's just not. It's training and work and time and little breaks that lead to a bigger break, and little breaks that lead to a bigger break. Those lottery tickets do get cashed in, but most of the people that call this their career, it's a series of little wins that make up the big wins.
And I also believe that if you're looking at it as work, that you're working to get somewhere, this whole thing that it's about the destination, that's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
Because if you're truly an impassioned artist, I mean, like we are, we love what we do.
Yeah.
And then we get things along the way.
Yeah.
But we love what we do, and we keep doing what we do.
Yeah, one of the things I when I'm teaching, I'm doing master classes or whatever, say it's a dance master class, and I'm like, would you do it anyway? If you're the last person on earth, would you be dancing anyway? Would you dance for the trees, right? And if the answer is yes, then more is going to come to you because you're not doing it for a purpose. Yes, that's always there, that's tacitly like a thing where you want to get a job with so-and-so producer or so-and-so director, but you do it anyway. So the big jobs and the big breaks are like icing on the cake. But you're still eating cake every day.
Let's jump from Broadway. You're doing Broadway, and something got in you. I want to work in film and television. What happened there?
I initially wanted to do TV and film when I was in middle school. Was watching movies like I want to do that, and that's where the dream kind of started. And then as I got into later in middle school, what we were doing was musicals. And I found out that I loved it. I loved the energy in a musical. And I went and saw my first Broadway show. My parents took me when I was younger. And then I went again in high school on the trips to New York, from Pennsylvania, it wasn't that far. And I was like, I'm going to do that first. So I was like, while I'm young, while I'm able, while I can do this thing, because I was, reading up on Gene Kelly, and he said this awesome thing about dancing is a butterfly profession. So it doesn't last as long as it takes a lot out of your body. Luckily, I can still do it, but I was like, I want to do that first.
Wait, butterfly meaning
quick, short.
Okay.
It can be shorter, Yeah, it's Gene Kelly. So that was it. But I had always had in the back of my mind, I want to do TV and film, and we were on the national tour of Shrek. It was me, Christine, and our first boy, who was 6 months old when we went on the road. So we were a road family, and I'd been thinking about it. And as cosmic things happened, people started asking me, and I hadn't said anything. They just started asking me, "Hey, have you thought about TV and film? Because you got a good look for that. And I was like, funny you should ask. I've been thinking about it. And we got notice that we were closing on the tour of Shrek. And I was like, you know what? If we're going to really do this, let's do it now before our now 2 kids, are older and have family or have friends and schools. We're like, let's go. And that was several years ago. So it's been going good now.
Let's just kind of press in here for a minute. Okay. It's that because many people that are watching, let alone people everywhere, thinking about, am I going to go to Hollywood? Am I going to go to New York? Am I going to do this? I got this job. I got this life. I wanted, and it's like so many people want it, but it's like, what do they do? How do they do it? I mean, how? For you, how did it work?
Oh, God. I think because I was maybe too naive to think of anything else. I really had tunnel vision. Whenever I get focused on something, everything else goes away. So coming from when I had decided that Broadway was a thing, literally everything I did was in line with making that happen. So it wasn't a question of if I'm going to New York, it was just when. It wasn't how. The how kind of reveals itself as you go, as long as you're willing to work. And as long as you're willing to do what it takes and just do all the things that you need to do and take care of all the things that you need to take care of, then you'll do it. And like I said, it was never a question. I was just like, I'm going there. That's where I'm going. And I think that kind of commitment moves things on an energetic level that things just start happening.
It's a focus principle.
Yeah. So the same thing happened here. Once we decided we're going here and this is what we're going to do now, things just started to align. And when there was no doubt, there was no, am I going to make it? How is it? Again, I didn't know how. I just knew it was happening.
This is what's next for me.
This is what's next. I'm doing this now.
And I will be as good at this as everything else I'm good at doing.
Yeah.
Because I will show up and do me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so common sense for us.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. Like, but it's just go. Just go.
Just do it.
Yeah. I mean,
Nike
is right.
Just do it. Yeah. Maybe that's why they're successful.
Yeah.
They had the slogan.
The slogan hasn't changed for how many decades
Slogan
now?
and a swoosh.
A slogan and a swoosh.
That's all it takes.
Whew.
That's a great title for something.
I like that.
A success book. Slogan and a swoosh. Okay, so you get here, and we're going to kind of just jump around because for those of you that don't know about Joe's a song man, a dance man, he's an actor and a writer, motivational speaker and instructor. I mean, my gosh, man. So you came out here and everything started going on. What is it that you can tell these guys on how you were able to put those concentrations into place to be able to pull all that off?
I think I can do a lot, but I didn't do a lot at once. I think where people go wrong is they think actors, performers, that I have to do everything right now. So I didn't build the Broadway career while I was at the same time working to build the TV and film career.
Right.
I got very focused, and when I first got here, I said no to a lot of theater auditions. I'm like, I can't do that as much as I love it. I can't do that now because I need to learn this, which is why I ended up in the studio and training here. And that was so focus is how I did it. If that answers the question.
Yeah, totally.
I think
it is. It's handling one thing at a time, and then it's like the overnight sensation that took 20 years to do.
Right.
It's a buildup of all of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was for the first few years when we were here, and as things change, and I talked to you about this just recently. Now I'm doing a little more stage work, and we're opening things up to kind of just include more, so that
because you certainly need more.
Why not? Why not? Yeah. So
right?
it's been good. Yeah, because sometimes think like the momentum changes, the momentum shifts, and where something isn't moving like it was. Okay, great. Well, what is? It's about just continual motion, continually moving forward, continually working the instrument, and wherever you get the chance to work it. And that is what I'm doing.
Hey, I'm going to take a quick time out and talk to one of my producers. I think we blew a pack up here that might need to be changed. If we could do that, that'd be cool.
My pack?
No, it's a light pack. So cool. Yeah. Thank you so much. Got a great team here running this whole thing that makes it all work. So we're really excited about all of them. We'll just get that switched. But okay,
Yeah.
so now we met over at SAG-AFTRA headquarters right about the time that SAG and AFTRA actually merged, because I remember having such a difficult time not saying SAG.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
And I had the SAG-AFTRA people there making sure I would say SAG-AFTRA, and I just was like, because for decades I called it SAG.
Been here a minute.
Oh my gosh, I blew that out the door. But how did you get into the union?
It was actually.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was in New York, and I joined via sister union. So I've been in equity for a long time, and as our first child was about to be born.
Well, let's back up for a second.
Okay.
For people, how do you become equity?
Equity is through. It can be through points. There's a candidacy program that you can do.
And equity is the union for stage.
Stage, yes. So anyone that you see on Broadway, and there's several regional theaters all around the country that they have contracts. But I knew I wanted to be on Broadway. I knew I needed to join equity, and it was the right time for me to do it. So, and luckily, I did Cats at a theater right outside New York at Westchester Broadway Dinner Theater, if anybody knows it. And at the end of the contract, one of the things that they offer you is you have the option to take your equity card. And I did that contract. It was amazing. Loved doing Cats. I got to do that show twice.
Who'd you play?
Mungo Jerry.
Mungo
Jerry. And I'm excited about the movie. I'm excited to see it. But yeah, I got to do Mungo, and they gave me my card, and that was my jump into the union. And that's how that worked. And then I had stayed equity for a long time, and I hadn't had any plans to join SAG or after at the time. And then we had our older boy, our first child, and my Broadway shows had closed. And I was like, well, and I had the ability to, and I was confident in my ability to perform. So I was like, even though my on-camera experience was low, I was like, I'm going to join SAG, because if I'm going to start in background, like many people do, I'm going to get paid SAG rate for it. So that is what really did it. I joined that way, and it was really doing what it takes. So it was one of those things like, well, I'd rather be on set than doing anything else, and I can do this. So that's where it happened. But then along came the Shrek tour and yanked us out of New York. That was the last thing.
Okay. Right,
so
great.
in between, Little Mermaid on Broadway was my second Broadway show. That had closed. In between that and us leaving for the tour, which was June of the following year, that was where like, okay, well, let's go do this.
I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm just thinking about actors that are watching now, either live or pre-taped, and going, they're trying to figure out how to get off their couch. They're trying to figure out how to get something going in their lives, and it's like you're talking about this like you're popping jelly beans.
I guess so. I don't know. I've been lucky. I really I had.
Let me stop you for a second, because that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
Because someone who isn't feeling lucky right now doesn't want to hear about somebody who's lucky.
You're great. You're lucky. You
so
jerk.
let's say that the luck. We're not dealing with the luck.
It's a nice blue shirt, but I don't like the guy wearing it.
Outside of the luck, what would you say it is that allows you to create so much of this energy?
Work. Just work. I was where I was lucky was I was given talents, and so I know I was lucky there that I was just given raw talent to work with.
Your gifts.
Yeah, gifts. I had them, and I also had parents that fanned the flames. They let me do it. They were very supportive of everything that I did, and my heart breaks for actors that are out there maybe watching where their parents are like, okay, you're going to do the acting, performing thing, but when are you going to get a real job? And I never once heard that, ever. So I think the bliss that I had, gee, come on, Joe, be aware of your space. The bliss that I had was I never thought that I couldn't. So I never did think that I couldn't. Right. And I was also given this amazing work ethic from both my parents to just whatever you're going to do, work at it. And my dad I wrestled growing up. So my dad would say, one of the ways to win is like the other guy's doing 10 push-ups, you do 20. So that was just my mindset of work harder and love what you're doing. And because I did love it, the working hard was easy. You know, I was the guy that after tap class in college, I would stay, if I didn't have anything else to do, everyone else would leave and I'd stay in the studio for an hour just working. And I loved it, and I'd be happy just sweating, you know, in this dance studio, just working on my feet. Or then if it was a ballet class, or if it was a, whatever the thing was, if I had time, I would do it. Would you do it anyway? And I just kept doing it. So I think having that kind of passion for what I was doing was just on me when I would go to classes, or I'd go to auditions, and it allowed me to be marketable. It allowed people like, oh, well, he can do what I need him to do, and he loves doing it, so it all
You developed
worked.
your product.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
The R&D. I spent a lot of time doing R&D.
Exactly, because as you know, obviously, we're in the same mind dynamic. Is that you don't put the product on the shelf with a fancy label before the product inside is actually what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's one of the more difficult things that I do, obviously, as an ongoing acting coach, is getting people to just realize, look, if you're really impassioned with this, if you really want to do this, don't shortchange yourself by trying to put a roof on a house that doesn't even have a foundation or sides yet.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. It's just going to sit on the floor.
Yeah.
And you have to build the product, get the product to where the product needs to be. Then when these opportunities arise, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, because it, you know, it's kind of like the analogy of weightlifting. You know, when you're on set and you're on an A-level set, there's more weight. When they say, okay, Joe, you're up, and you've got all these people looking at you, and it's your shot, that there's weight to that. There's energetic weight. So if you don't have the strength to handle it by practicing and training in front of cameras and being in a good studio, it's just not gonna work. You might get that job, but you might not get the next one. Or, you know, the production calls casting. Why'd you send us that guy? You know. So yeah, it just takes that kind of work.
Yeah, the interesting thing on this, something simple, because it all works to be a whole unit of being able to be watched. What I do now is I bring actors up in front of the room, put them on the chair in a room full of actors that are all there doing the same thing, and watch how nervous that they get. I'm going, you need to develop the muscles of being watched. You have to be able to share yourself in a way that allows yourself to be watched, because you take a situation like that. Let's say you've got 55 people standing around.
Right.
Not a big production, but a good sized production.
Yeah.
And you might have a name or two on that. And they're doing their thing, and you're there, and you're getting ready to go. When it's your turn, it's like everything stops, and now all that focus and all that attention is on you.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to handle that pressure.
Right. And you know, and relax into it, because you know that tension makes you jump out of all of the
space.
you're just owning your space. Yeah. So it's all of that, and it takes practice. Yeah, and time.
Let's jump into the on-camera stuff, because when I met you, it was at that one of my SAG-AFTRA talks about, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago.
Oh gosh,
now?
yeah, it was 8 years ago.
Okay, and I was giving the talk, and I remember what had happened. I would like to hear it from you, but I remember what had happened. There was 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
And I was doing my thing, had the SAG-AFTRA representatives in the back in the kitchen, that little kitchen area, watching me, you know.
Yeah.
Which is he gonna say SAG-AFTRA, you know? It's like, well, and I was done. And when I was done, I remember you approached me.
Yeah.
And you said, "Man, you're speaking my language."
Yeah.
That's how I remember.
Yeah, and that's what
you.
I remember that as well, because it was, I can't even remember what the headline was of the workshop. Maybe it was about creating moments, or auditioning more powerfully, or something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, something along those lines. And what you were saying, it was all about the dynamics of all the just principles of success. It didn't matter what the success, what you were going to do. And I had studied entrepreneurism, and I had studied some stuff from a lot of the great leaders and empowerment coaches out there. So I heard that combined with artistry, combined with craft, combined with knowledge of what these things do and how to work with these things, cameras that is, you know, because I had gotten to LA, and I'd been in LA for almost a year, and I'd gone on a few auditions, and I realized I don't know how to do this. So and it was really cool to hear both. Here's how you can own this space and create these moments and to be really a great craftsperson here, as well as all the stuff that I had heard and the core power principles and the dynamics that I hadn't heard any other acting teachers talk about. So that's why I was like, oh, I understand that guy. You know, I was like, I hear that, like, you're speaking my language.
Right.
That's what that was, and it was really, really cool. You know, that night was really, really cool. Obviously, we're here 8 years later.
Glad,
So, you know,
glad it worked.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Let
yeah.
me capitalize on one little thing that you just said right there. I mean, we've just spent almost, maybe, I don't know, look at your timeline, 20, 30 minutes talking about the amazing accomplishments that you've had on Broadway and everything that you've done. And yet, he comes here to Hollywood and is a big enough guy to go, I don't know how to do this. I better learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to the viewer right now.
Sure.
Because you got to get so many actors just waking up, I'm cute. And I'm going to make it. It's like, well,
I'm cute, I got a bagel, let's go.
There's something called the craft, right?
There is.
The bagel and the coffee.
Bagel and the schmear and the coffee, and you go, but you got to know what you're doing. I'm making people laugh, that's good, I'm glad. All right, yeah, it was just, I think it's, always having the curiosity, and I think I remember Elton John hearing something about him, and he was talking about, I'm a student of music. This is Elton freaking John here. And he's like, I study music, I study other people. So it's constantly having the mind of a learner, always having the mind of a student. Because the minute you say, I know it all, I can do it, I got this, you start shrinking. You know, I think crafts-wise, you know, as a person, you know, the two most dangerous words to growth are I know.
Right? Yeah.
I know.
And you know that I study with Larry Moss
Yeah.
as an instructor, just to study him as an instructor so I can be a better instructor.
Yeah.
And he's such a proponent of the art of the craft that the actors that he truly appreciates, and this guy probably has more award-winning actors under his belt as a coach than any other coach I know of.
Definitely, yeah.
And he says the ones that he respects are the actors that they act. They don't just get their career and it's like their $1 million television show. But these are actors that are continually doing Broadway, doing local theater, continuing to work. And then that coupled with, we had a casting director in the studio. We host casting director workshops here at Claybank Studio. And just a few casting directors back, I heard something that I'd never heard before, that Al Pacino and Meryl Streep are still in acting class.
No kidding. That's news to me.
In acting class.
What?
Studying the craft and exercising the instrument.
Shakespeare? Studying, I did know that Al was a big, I think, from what I remember.
But a basic acting,
loves
Shakespeare. Acting, but you're just acting. Yeah. An acting class, they're still at it because they're just artisans.
Would you do it anyway?
Would you do it anyway? Right.
Would you do it anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
Dance as if no one's watching. Sing as if no one's listening.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know.
So cool. Let's jump. I want to get to the book and finances.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, Joey has authored with his wife. Which camera are we on? Is this going to work right here? Does that work?
Cool.
The Thriving Artist.
Yeah.
And great little book. Just breaks it down. We've taught on this together, which has been cool. And you teach all over the place with that book. We'll get to that in a second. Finances and the Artist. We'll stay tuned. We're coming up on that. But on-camera work, switching from theater to working in front of the camera. Now, obviously, you came in under my tutelage and learned what you know about on-camera acting here at CBSI. What was that conversion like? Bring us through that journey.
I think it was the great analogy that you gave was you get a running back, you know. Maybe it's not the best analogy, but we'll use it anyway.
It's football season.
It's football season. So yeah, we got, you know, so take all the later stuff in O.J. Simpson's life out of the picture. But when you get a guy who has had a football field to run on, right, which is the stage, and the size that you can be and have all that energy on that big space, and then you put him in a cell, and you have to learn how to operate in that smaller space and still be the vibrant version of you. So it was just about compression and learning how to allow and instead of performing, behaving. And even when I thought I was behaving, I was still performing. And that's still, coming from the training that I have and the natural energetic level that I operate at, compressing all that down. So it was just the really awesome process of that camera technique, but also one of the things that I love that we did that has really done wonders for my stage work is about filling frames of more information and more things going on in here that allow for your character to be more interesting and more captivating. And I have applied that to all the stage work that now that I've opened back up to that, I'm applying it, and the results have been really great. I mean, the feedback has been great about what I've been doing, and that's really exciting.
Let me just kind of break out on that so the audience can kind of track with what we're talking about. Joey's talking about filling the frames, and this is a dynamic that I unpacked it as an instructor as far as how do we become interesting? I mean, I'm going, what does it take for an on-camera performer to become interesting? And I looked at where interest comes from. And for me, I broke it down to two things. It comes from movement and it comes from information. Mm-hmm. So if you think about when there's something that's just stagnant, it's not as interesting as if it has some movement. If you have standard definition television, it's not as interesting as 4K because there's that much more information, and then if the information is moving, it's going to keep our attention. So there's a simple breakdown. It's just how my mind works. Taking complicated things and making them easy to explain. So I go, okay, well, how does that work for the actor? Well, when we're in front of a camera, the cameras are generally taking 24 pictures to 30 pictures a second, which equates to 900 frames every 30 seconds or 1,800 frames a minute. So I mean, 1,800 single pictures are taken of us every minute. Now, I also added this, and I don't know if you've heard me explain this before. It's equivalent to this. If you're not doing something with those frames, then they kind of are dead frames. Now, when you see lit up billboards that operate off of a lot of light bulbs like Vegas, when you see the ones that are all kind of decrepit and stuff and some of the bulbs are out, it's really unattractive. It's kind of ugly. But then you see those lights that all the bulbs are burning. Obviously, that's very appealing.
And that's where you hear so many successful film actors, especially any actor. Like, it's about research. It's about packing the life of that character with opinion and history and physicalizing and all emotional life, all the things. It's just about
having the story,
having all the elements of the story. It's not just, oh, I walk here, I walk there, and that's the story. It's all these different elements that come together. So that was a massive addition to my toolbox.
So meaning you're doing things while you're not doing things.
You're doing lots of things.
While you're
active
not doing
listening.
Things. You know, the thing that's fun to watch, and it's for me, I'm always watching the actors, the greats work, looking at their appendages, always looking at the extremities because this is the heady actor. Okay, well, does it go through the entire instrument? And like with you. Watching you even do big, large musical performances. I will always say to whoever I'm watching you with, I'll say, watch him on the eaves. Watch him when he leaves. Watch him when the camera's not on him. Well, the focus is on you. And it's like, and just Saturday, the people that I went with were saying, he doesn't stop. He stays with it all the time. And that's why you steal so many scenes, Joe.
Oh, thank you. Why, thank you.
It's just, you're there and you're just activated.
It's fun to be activated. It's like, it's just,
and so
I don't know.
Are you dedicating your improved theatrical performances due to your on-camera film and television training?
Yes, absolutely. No, totally.
I love that.
Totally. Maybe I've never told you that, but absolutely. Like it's because when I'm talking to, here's another way for the musical folks out there. A lot of actors will work on whole notes. 1, 2, 3,
Oh,
And
this is
these are their
good.
beats, right? So you know where I'm going with
I
this.
love it.
Okay, then if you get someone who's got more information or more craft, they can do on half notes. Then you got 1, 2, and then until you get to then you start going. So there's more notes. It's the same
that's
4
awesome.
counts,
That's great.
right? But how many more notes are on the page? How many more notes can you have
Right.
that make it more
The
interesting?
chopsticks are Beethoven.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, you know, and the interesting lines are the first violin, or the you know the flute or the piccolo that's just ripping through a 16th note or 32nd note passage, that adds the to the moment.
We had
to the
another
music,
CD
yeah.
in here, I think maybe even the following week, who said, and I love when the casting directors that come in for casting director workshops that have they're not selling anything because they're casting directors, will just go on about the importance of training.
Yeah.
And this one gal, she says, you know, you're wanting to play Beethoven, but you're only training for chopsticks.
That's a great analogy.
It's like, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess it's just that it seems like the topic is training, you know, and that's how you get anywhere. That and
you know, when I invite people to come see you, when you invite me to come see you at something, of course I come to support you. Because you're so stinking entertaining.
Nah.
And then whoever it is I'm bringing, if they don't know you, like especially just even last Saturday, I usually will say, he's going to be the one who steals the scene. He'll be the scene sealer.
Oh, go on, keep telling him. Put the camera on him, let him keep talking.
Oh, awesome. But no, it's really true. Let's move on a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about how. I remember when you told me that you were getting ready to release a book, and I was like, what book? On what? How? Where did this come from? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, in the midst of all this stuff, you went and penned a book, of course, with your wife, Christine, who's amazing, on finances.
Yeah.
How did what? Where? Where did this come from? Where did this come from?
That came from, that was a long time coming because we were writing it as we were doing it, as we were living it.
Well, what'd you do? Just sit down and go, hey, honey, on top of everything else we're doing, let's write a book.
Hey, why not? It's the busy people who get more done.
Right? You want to get something done, give it to a busy person. Right.
If they can fit it in, it'll get done. The genesis of that book was a teacher of mine from Penn State. I was on Broadway, and he was running a tour group in New York. He said, hey, I want you to come and talk to these kids that they had brought in. And it was like a 90-minute talk. And I was like, oh, my God, 90 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to say. And I wrote down all these notes and all this stuff. And over the course of the 90 minutes, I got to, like, this much of it. And I had written this much, and I got to this much. And I came home from that. And I was like, God, there's so much. I said to Christine, I was like, I feel like we should write a book. I should write a book. We should do this. She's like, okay, let's do it. So part of like having an awesome career is like having an awesome partner. Because my wife is like, it's just like, I don't work without her. And I don't like to think she doesn't work without me, but I don't know. But no.
It's the yin and the yang.
It's the yin and we are, yeah. So I mean, having that partnership, but so we were like, okay. So it started here, and then over time and years of kind of writing down and figuring out all the stuff we wish we would have known. We came up with this book, and it was as we were going through, and we were blessed to have a big contract and a Broadway contract, and she had big contracts on the road and production contract tours and stuff. And we had read enough financial advice that we were following it, and unfortunately, a lot of our counterparts, a lot of our people couldn't have the conversation we were having, or weren't doing the things that we were doing, and it wasn't we are better than. It was like they couldn't do things that they wanted to do, and so we were like, oh, there's a need for this. There's a really serious need for this. I was doing a show, and there was a strike on Broadway. The stagehands went on strike, and we were locked out of the theater for 19 days. And then when I came back to the show, one of the members of the cast was like, I think I got to take out a loan to pay some bills. And this person had been in the show for like a year and a half. This is a Broadway contract. So I was like, I want to help. That shouldn't be the case. I mean, no, you were without a couple paychecks. Okay, but if that's where you're at, then I want to help. There was a need to help educate people about money and being an artist and having all of that work so that you can have kids and a mortgage and do these things. And so that's where a lot of this comes from. So it's, being inspired in life, empowered in your career, and entrepreneurial in your finances. And that's where it all came from, is eventually what we settled on.
Real life
This is how it actually shows up. Here's what a check looks like, and here's some things you could do with it. We're not financial professionals, so it's just street level stuff that has worked for people that are making it work. And we're still learning. It's still a process.
You know what I love about that? You don't claim to be anything more than you are. You're calling it just the way that it is, and you've not only developed this book that just helps the artist understand the dealings of irregular income, but this book, from what I understand, is also now being used in certain universities.
Yeah, that was a big thing when schools, theatrical schools and universities and colleges, it's a required text, or and they're using it and they're teaching from it. That was one of the things I was like,
beautiful.
Whoa,
well done.
So that's great. That advice is helping people that are coming in to a very uncertain profession, and maybe they can say to their parents, "Hey, I know how this can go. Here's how it can work because it's working for these guys." And
So the book is The Thriving Artist, and it's by Joe Abraham, and Christine uses her name, correct?
Yeah, Negerbon, Negherb.
Glad
It's
you
Tyrolean.
married her.
It's Tyrolean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Northern Italy, Southern
Where
Austria.
would people go to pick this book?
You can go to Amazon. You can go to our website, thethriving.artists.com.
Thriving.artists.com.
Plural artists. You grab it there. It's also on iTunes if you are an e-reader type.
Oh, cool. Oh, you have it?
So you Kindle.
It's audio?
No. God,
it's a Kindle book.
It's a Kindle,
Got
and
it.
it's also, you can download it to your e-reader. And on the site there's an audio program. There's a whole thing that we created, a study guide to go with it, so you can literally follow along.
Oh, that's terrific.
There's all kinds of stuff, like
Look at
exercises that you
Got
can
some money
do.
issues?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
So
Thriving Artists.
yeah,
Get on it.
Yeah.
That's
so
terrific.
That's what's happening.
Hey, let me just kind of sideline us a little bit, not directly on this, but I do have to make a comment on it, and I want you to just speak on it just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm a single guy.
Yeah.
I've got many married friends.
Yes.
And I will just say this. I will always just tout you two as one of the most successful relationships in marriage that I personally know, and also just being able to do all the things that you do. Because I know Christine. We hang out.
Yeah.
And just it's amazing. Your relationship is
Thanks,
truly
man.
one of a stellar flagship relationship for me. And of course, I'm not saying it's not perfect and you guys don't but you just make it work.
Yeah.
How about just maybe a fun tip for somebody?
Gosh, I think give more than you take.
And we're moving on.
Yeah, I think it just, because we tend to be selfish creatures, you know what I mean, just by nature, you tend to want to take care of you, and that's where the work of a relationship comes in, is like, what can I do to help the other person? How can I make this easier for them? Because right now she's got a million things going on, and I was like, what do you need? What can I take off your list? What can I do? And I think if you always keep that in mind, and helping the other person, making their life easier. A great book that helped us was 5 Love Languages. That was an awesome book that really helped us understand each other. And it had great application. We're like, okay, and at times also, sometimes, we've gotten to this point where if one's in a funk and just going off on something, we'll say, do you want me to fix you or do you want me to listen? Do you want me to fix or listen? He's like, no, don't fix me. Don't fix me right now. I just want to go. Because, we want to get your hands on it and try to do that. I'm like, okay, all right, go. So I think it's kind of several different things. But the first thing was just, give more than you take. And stay in it.
I'm just reflecting on just some of the things, because I've seen you guys argue, and I just want to discuss this for a second. That I have the 2 commandments of Clay Banks, right?
Yeah.
Thou shalt not have a bad time.
Whilst preparing for a good time.
And it's not how you get along, it's how you don't get along. Because I never understood why, when we're all going to not get along,
Yeah.
but don't kill each other when you're not getting
No,
along.
we have never had that knockdown, drag out, glass breaking fight.
No,
We've never had one.
And this is what I wanted to
yeah.
comment on, because I've been there when you guys don't play any games. I mean, I'm sure what I'm seeing and other people are seeing is what you do when nobody's there, because it just looks so natural when you guys have conflict.
Yeah.
And I love it on how you have conflict, because you will just basically say, I've got, and she will respect that. She will let you make your point. And then, or you'll be going, and she'll stop you.
Yeah.
And you guys, you just argue great.
You gotta learn how to fight. It really is. You gotta learn how to fight fair, because fights happen. I mean, good Lord, do fights happen? Or this tension, this push-pull, and you're not sure what it is. But yeah, learning how to have a good fight.
Yeah.
Where it's not gonna leave any like big scars. Anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if any of you have any questions or want to comment, I think we do. We've got some, our producers are here, and we're going to probably, I felt like there might have been a question or something.
Yeah,
so.
happy for questions.
What do we got?
We have a question from Peter Starr.
Peter Starr.
For Joey.
Okay.
He says, Joe, what are some angles you take to your training? How do you tackle yourself in training to ensure you develop and evolve your craft?
Find what I'm weakest at, and then I go do it. So if I knew that I was weak on camera, so I found an awesome on-camera studio, and I was like, okay, let's get into it. And then I get real focused on moving the needle on that. Again, I don't try to do everything all at once. I am a jack of all trades. I've been blessed to have a lot of different talents, and I can do a lot of things. And sometimes I'm also cursed with indecision. So. That would be the thing, is to find the thing that you are struggling with, and then just go work on that thing, and then go to the next thing, and work on rounding yourself out. But like I said, you can't do it all at once, so just pick that thing.
So it would also, in aiding you to pick that thing, if your coaching notes are the same week in and week out, that might be the thing that you need to go to work on your own.
Yes, if it's the coaching notes, or if you're getting in the room but there's no callback, then you want to go figure out, okay, whether it's commercials, and there's a lot of different commercial classes out there, whatever, you find the thing like, here's a stopping point, here's a barrier, and I keep running into it. A lot of times people don't want to go through that because it can be painful, because it's something you're not doing or not seeing, and you have to have a coach that says, actually it's this, and that might be a nerve that you don't want to touch. But you have to open up to that so you can get through it and get on the other side of whatever's kind of holding you back.
And it's like, not everybody is successful, because you strive for success and you fall into failure, and it's easier to fall than it is to strive.
Right. So
that's why there's less successful people than there are people who don't quite succeed.
Right.
And I think it will always come back down to doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you need to do, and you have to do and should do. So, like, for example, in a situation where I teach cold reading, and I created a sheet after years of researching all this, and go, look, this is just, you're paying me, X amount of dollars, hundreds, to learn this. Here, you can do this part on your own. Let's work on other things, but you have to do that part on your own. And now, how many times do actors, they won't do the work?
Right.
It just won't do the work. Yeah. Or I need you working on your speech and your voice and your articulation. That should be something like every day. You got to work on it all the time.
I think was it Peter Starr? Hire yourself out every day. If you work at Peter Starr Acting Inc., you need to be a good employee of Peter Starr Acting Inc. So you need to go to work for him, and for however many hours a day that you can allot to work for that corporation, you go to work for that corporation. And whether it's cold reading or whatever the thing is, or just working on a monologue, or reading a play, or reading a screenplay, or writing, take your pick. But you have to go to work for that corporation, so that because you want to. Would you hire you if you had someone coming in who worked on your career as much as you currently are? Would you hire that person? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then there's work to do. Just hire yourself out. Punch a clock.
It's terrific.
Yeah. What else we got?
Okay, good. All right, great. So what we're going to do, because we're coming into the hour, I believe. We're pretty close to the hour. Yep. And I want to kind of bring about what's happening right now, and where you're going, and where you're going to take things, and any advice that you might give to these things that you're maybe unsure about?
Yeah. Right now, I've because I was focused so much on TV and film for the first several years that I was here. In the recent year or two, I've kind of said, okay, let's open back up and let's see if we can run on both tracks a little bit. But the thing going forward is balance and continually working to crack the marketing nut, so to speak. Just connecting with people that are able to, just getting in front of people, connecting, and that's where I'm at, and that's a continual thing of like, how do I, the process of getting in front of those people. Your agent's great. What can I do? What else can I do? And just opening up ideas of that. And also one of the things that we'll be doing is writing. Looking at where, because if the work is where it was happening, now it's not happening as much as it was. Okay, let's create it. Great saying that you had that I keep in my brain is, if there's no fire, start one. So it's going to be a process of starting fires and seeing where they go and seeing what attention, rather than going out and chasing it, being something interesting and creating something interesting and bringing people to it. So that's going to be the new thing going forward, and seeing how that all plays out.
And then there's the other side of it. When you have a lot of fires that are burning, you got to manage those fires so you don't burn the house down.
Right.
So like in a situation, you and I have been working on a two-man show.
Right.
And this two-man show is like, we know we've shared the concept with people, and they're pretty enraptured with it. It's us getting our schedules, busy working professionals, to come together and actually find time, and we've been chipping away and chipping away at it. So that's something that we have to, again, look at and go, okay, we need to continue to dedicate this time to this, because we know we've got something very awesome.
It's awesome. It's very, very cool. And that's not just because we're making it. It's, the people that I've bounced it off of, it's really cool. Can't say anything right now, but it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I'm excited about that, and we'll see how that unfolds.
We can't tell them the title, so at least they'll hear the title.
Oh, the title. Okay, the title is called Ledge.
Ledge.
Yeah.
That's the name of the two-man show.
Yes,
it will be coming to you soon.
Yes.
As soon as we can finish.
It's on its way, baby. It's on its way.
But it's been a great creative process.
Yeah.
Let me just do this in wrapping up and talk about the creative process for a second, because sometimes people, like I say, they're sitting on the couch and they don't know what to do. And as you know, I'm a huge proponent of staying creative with creative scenes in the studio and artist adventures and keeping the actor. No, don't sit around and wait for a call.
Yeah.
You're creative, create.
Yeah.
And where you and I met together, this goes back years, where we were working on some corporate dynamics.
Right.
Remember?
Which is what spawned the show.
Right. This is what spawned it all. Joey and I were working on some corporate dynamics to go and say, we want to take the improvisational dynamics and theater training and bring it to corporations and help corporate people understand how to free up and do more. So basically bringing acting training into the business world. And through so many meetings and writing sessions, we wound up going from a series of corporate training, live corporate training videos, then instructional dynamics, and it turned into a two-man show.
So that gets the lesson there is like, you don't know how it's going to unfold.
We had no idea.
Yeah, so it's just about moving. Like
what the two-man show is actually themed.
Yeah, that was out of left field. That was something that's crazy.
That's the creative process.
Yeah. And going after it and being okay with the unknown. But sticking with it, you'll end up in the right place. And
truly, when you're in a scene, you know the script. I have the script. You've got your character. I know your character. You know my character. We're in the scene together. We're working together. We know everything. The actors know everything there is to know. Yet we will go into it, and moment to moment, we don't really know where it's going to go.
Yeah. It's never. Tom Hanks, great. There's a great acting is always on the verge of disaster. You never know how it's going to go, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah,
that's the fun of it. It's kind of like life, right? That's the fun of it. You don't know where it's going to go.
So in wrapping this up, I like to ask my guests a couple of questions that I just kind of hone in on just to wrap this all up.
Okay.
And the one question,
it's like Lipton.
Yeah, yeah. When you get to heaven, what do you want to say?
Yeah,
to God?
yeah.
Right, kind of a deal. So so this is my own little thing,
Okay.
and I'm trying to deal with all the social media dynamics. You get to send one Instagram message to the world, and everyone in the world will see it.
Wow.
What will be the picture, and what will be the caption?
Wow, what a question! Oh man, I have no clue. I think, oh gosh, I'll just love what you do, love your life, love the moments. I would have a picture, I think, of my family and I. I think it would be about that. I think at the end of it, everything, you can have it all. And I think it's possible because it's how you define it. Define success on your terms and then go live and live that vibrant life. Be that kind of message, because there's so much comparison on social media. That's kind of its innate downfall, is that you're looking at everybody else's best version of themselves or their lives, what they're putting out there, and there's a natural comparison thing that kicks off in your head. So I guess, oddly enough, I'd say turn it off. I'd say go. You define you and go
do you.
Go do you, and you share it, but don't market it.
Awesome.
I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That was
That
great.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a heck of a question, man. A heck of a question.
Joey, this has been awesome.
This has been very cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to thank you, man.
Yes.
You're a pinch hitter like nobody's
Oh
business.
man, this is awesome.
Yeah, terrific.
Happy to be here.
Again, Joe Abraham and Christine Negaban.
Negaban. Yeah.
Negaban, The Thriving Artist. You can pick this up just
Yep.
about anywhere you can find any book. And this has been really terrific, Joe.
Yeah,
I want to thank
yeah.
you for coming on. Guys, this has been The Performance Zone, again brought to you by claybankstudio.com. We want to thank you for tuning in. Keep sharing and caring.
Yeah.
We'll bring you more industry professionals to give you more insights into different dynamics of what it is we do to navigate the waters of Hollywood and the industry.
There we go.
Okay, guys.
Have a
we'll see
good
you.
one.
You bet.